Here's Carr now, wants to throw. Intercepted Jesse Bates. He's got green grass. 40, 50, 40, 30, 20. Striding out, Jesse. Touchdown Atlanta.
Inside the Nest, an Atlanta Falcons audio experience. Here is your host, Craig Green.
Touchdown Atlanta.
The Saints of New Orleans marched into the Benz. The Hoodats and Falcons certainly aren't friends. Fans circle the calendar and remember the date. It's been 56 years of old-fashioned hate. The following week, the Birds flew north for a game with the Jets that went back and forth. Offenses on ice, but the punting was nice, and the past 2 weeks, Atlanta won twice. Welcome inside the Nest. I'm your host, Craig Green. Let's get into it. Got to give credit of the sound from AtlantaFalcons.com of Jesse Bates' memorable interception return for a touchdown against the Saints the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Atlanta defeated their hated rivals 24-15, holding New Orleans to just 5 field goals despite amassing a bunch of yardage in between the 20s. Then they followed it up with a dominant defensive performance on the road against the Jets at a rainy MetLife Stadium, 13-8. So let's take a look at injuries. None of note really from the Saints game, but the Jets game saw several players take some knocks. Nate Landman, Caleb McGarry in the first half, A.J. Terrell with concussion, Jeff Okudah, also David Onyemata and Drew Dalman are also banged up. So these are players that the Falcons will have to monitor. Arthur Smith, non-committal about their status for the upcoming game this Sunday against Tampa Bay. We'll have to find out as the week progresses how those players are doing. So let's quickly recap stats from the last 2 games. We'll start with the contest between the Falcons and the Saints. That game, of course, finished 24-15. Falcons won. I'll take a look at the scoring summary real quick. First quarter, Blake Grupe for New Orleans, 25-yard field goal. New Orleans leads 3-0. Falcons respond. 6 plays, 56 yards, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Jesse Bates, a pick 6 on Derek Carr, returns it 92 yards to the Nest. Younghoe Koo extra point makes it 7-3 Falcons. Saints, of course, get the ball after that touchdown. They go 7 plays, 41 yards, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Blake Grupe, 52-yard field goal, pulls them within 1. Falcons respond again at the 8:56 mark. Bijan Robinson, a 10-yard touchdown run. 10 plays, 78 yards, 5 minutes, 20 seconds. Falcons go up 14-6 after the Younghoe Koo extra point. Blake Grupe responds with another field goal. This one 41 yards out, 14-9 Atlanta. 12 plays, 52 yards, 5 minutes, 2 seconds. In the third quarter, the only scoring was Blake Grupe kicking another field goal, putting the Saints behind by just 2, 14-12. That was a 14-play, 65-yard drive in 8 minutes and 13 seconds. In the fourth quarter, the Falcons got the clutch touchdown they needed to create the separation they needed to win this game. Bijan Robinson, a 26-yard touchdown pass, a thing of beauty from Desmond Ridder, off his back foot, fading away, kind of Patrick Mahomes-ish in a way. 26-yard touchdown pass to Robinson, makes it 21-12 after the Koo extra point. 9 plays, 95 yards, and 5:03. That's right, the Falcons started at their 5-yard line, marched down 95 yards in 9 plays, and finished with a spectacular touchdown. Blake Grupe, with 6:24 left in the fourth, kicked his 5th and final field goal, 8 plays, 54 yards, and 3:33. That made it 21-15. Koo responded with 1:47 left in the game to put the Falcons back up by 9 with a 39-yarder, 10 plays, 54 yards, and 4:37. Then the Saints were going downfield trying to respond and kick a field goal to put themselves in line for an onside kick. Blake Grupe ended up missing the field goal. It was short from 54 yards out on 4th and 3 from the Falcon 35-yard line. That basically ended the game for the Falcons, and they get the dub. That puts them into first place. Next week, well, this past Sunday, actually, the Falcons travel to New Jersey, not New York, New Jersey, to take on the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium. Quickly recapping the scoring from that game, not a lot to talk about from this one offensively. In the first quarter, the Jets get a safety after tackling Bijan Robinson in the end zone with the football. So 2 plays, -1 yard, 39 seconds possession right there for the Falcons. Falcons respond in the second quarter with 10:04 remaining in the second quarter. A 20-yard touchdown pass from Desmond Ridder to Michael Pruitt. That capped off a 6-play, 47-yard drive in 3 minutes and 7 seconds, put the Falcons up 7-2. Greg Zuerlein of the Jets responded with 3:56 to go in the second quarter. He made a 27-yard field goal. The Jets stalled out in the red zone. 12 plays, 66 yards, and 6:08. That made it 7-5 Atlanta. Younghoe Koo responds with a field goal as time expires in the second quarter, making it 10-5 at the half after a 7-play, 40-yard drive in 1 minute and 13 seconds. Desmond Ridder running the 2-minute drill, getting the Falcons in position to add some points. Final scoring of this game took place in the third quarter. 2 field goals exchanged by both teams. Zuerlein, a 46-yarder that brings the Jets within 2 at 10-8. That was with 10:32 remaining, 9 plays, 47 yards, and 4:28. Younghoe Koo replied to that with a 42-yard field goal of his own after a 14-play, 51-yard drive in 6 minutes, 54 seconds. That produced the final result of 13-8. Final possessions for the Jets in the fourth quarter ended on a fumble recovery by the Falcons after Trevor Siemian was strip sacked. And then the last one was a turnover on downs on fourth down as they were trying to drive up the field to get the game-winning touchdown. So the Falcons, of course, leave MetLife Stadium with a second consecutive victory, now sit 6-6 on the year, in first place in the NFC South by 1 game over both New Orleans and Tampa Bay, who are both 5-7. So now let's look at the good from the last 2 games. Got to start with the defense. I mean, Atlanta has not allowed a touchdown in 2 straight games and now 9 straight quarters overall. They're the only NFL team to not allow a touchdown over 2 consecutive games. The rushing attack has been lethal. I know the Falcons could only muster 90 yards in the ground against a stingy Jets defense, but they've ran for 318 yards combined in the last 2 games. That defense was led by Jesse Bates, who led the Falcons in tackling both games, plus he deflected a pass in each game, plus the forced fumble and the pick 6 against the Saints. Bates was awarded NFC Defensive Player of the Week for his game against New Orleans, 12 tackles, the pick 6, the fumble recovery. Bates followed that up against the Jets by getting another pick against NYJ in the third quarter, a big interception that stalled out the Jets on an offensive drive. Now the bad really is the Falcons are 1-3 in the red zone the last 2 weeks, and they've scored just a combined 30 points. If the defense wasn't playing so well, it's quite possible that the Falcons could have lost one or both of these games. The Falcons average only 18.8 points a game. They give up 20. It's going to be really, really important for the Falcons to finish drives in the red zone with touchdowns and not rely on Younghoe Koo in the defense as much as they have recently. So up next is a rematch with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game will be for first place in the NFC South. If Tampa were to win, they would pull even with the Falcons at 6-7, but they would hold a tiebreaker over Atlanta in terms of conference record. A Falcons win would give them a season sweep of the Bucs, plus it would put themselves 2 games ahead of Tampa with 4 games to go. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape between both teams. Falcons 6-6, 4-2 at home. Tampa Bay 5-7, 2-4 on the road. Tampa Bay, of course, coached by Todd Bowles. Falcons, of course, coached by Arthur Smith. Looking at the passing yards, Baker Mayfield 260 for 409. That's 2,790 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Desmond Ridder 2,029 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Rushing yards, the leaders there, Rachaad White for the Bucs, 643 yards rushing, 5 rushing touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 756 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Receiving yards, of course, Mike Evans, the guy that you're going to have to pay attention to the most, number 13 on the Bucs. 61 catches, 1,012 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Drake London leading the Falcons, 46 catches, 573 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last 5 games for each team, Falcons and Bucs both 2 wins, 3 losses. The Falcons have won the last 2 games. Tampa Bay has lost 2 of the last 3. They lost 27-14 at San Francisco. They lost 27-20 at Indianapolis, but returned home and defeated Carolina 21-18 this past Sunday. And looking at the betting odds for this game, the over-under right now sitting at 39.5. The spread, 2.5 points in favor of Atlanta. They are the favorite in this game, despite ESPN's matchup predictor having the Bucs with a 51.1% chance of winning against 48.5% for the Falcons. Well, if you remember, folks, the Bucs and the Falcons played earlier this season. The Falcons defeated the Bucs in Tampa 16-13 on a Younghoe Koo field goal as time expired. That was the game where Desmond Ridder fumbled twice near the goal line, and he was credited with a 3rd fumble on a botched snap with Drew Dahlman right there at the 1-yard line. Still, the defense did enough to keep Tampa off the scoreboard, and the offense found a way to protect the football on the final drive and flew back to Atlanta with the dub. This time around, it's possible that both starting cornerbacks, A.J. Terrell and Jeff Okudah, may not suit up against a duo of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, which gives the Bucs an advantage on paper against the Atlanta secondary. That's going to be my number one matchup for this game, is how can you neutralize the Buccaneers wide receivers of Evans and Godwin, of course, along with Trey Palmer, Cade Otton, and Rachaad White. They do have a potent, capable offense and a savvy veteran quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who just announced the other day that he's going to be a girl dad, so congrats to Baker Mayfield. I mean, how can the Falcons stop the Bucs offensively, keep them off the field as much as possible? That's going to be an interesting dynamic to this contest. So we will find out this Sunday, 1 o'clock, CBS at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Okay, so let's call it good right there. Had to combine 2 episodes into one. Said we weren't going to do that, but alas, here we are. Just had some personal things pop up. A lot of things on my schedule that I had to do. If you don't know, I do a lot of broadcasting on the side, so, sometimes delays the podcast a little bit. So apologies for making you wait, but here we go. You got the Jets and the Saints episodes. Killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I'd like to invite you to follow me on social media, as always, Facebook, Instagram, X, Snapchat, YouTube, and Threads at Craig G Sports. Please like, subscribe, and then share this podcast with any Falcons fans you know, any football fans you know, or any sports fans you know. And we have all intents and purposes to return shortly after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, hopefully on that Sunday night. At the absolute latest, we're hoping for a Monday night podcast to put out to you. So as we are recording this on Tuesday. So again, thanks so much for tuning in and checking it out. And we'll talk to you all soon after the Bucs game. So until then, this is your guy CG saying have a great rest of your day. Happy Hanukkah to all those who celebrate. Sayonara and buenos noches.
Here is Boyle, little trap, and this is Cook trying to slide to the left. And Phillips will hit him. The ball's out, and Alfred's got it. Fumble recovery on the hit. Play fake by Ridder. Loads, throws from Michael Pruitt. He held on. Touchdown, Atlanta. Holy smokes.
All he does is catch touchdowns.
All he does is catch touchdowns. Here's the snap. Evan Katie coming around. He'll sack him. And the ball is loose and recovered back at the 30-yard line. Boyle wants to hang one up for Garrett Wilson. And it's picked. Jesse Bates has got another one. 5th interception of the year for Jesse Bates. And like last week, He read it from center field.